Macon, Florida, growing manufacturing in the Sunshine State. All right, guys, so it's great to be here. Palmetto,
Yep.
Spectrum Custom Mold,
Correct.
right? So how about you introduce yourself? Adam, you want to go first?
My name is Adam Guidoboni, operations manager. Just became COO of the company last January 1st. Run all the operations and keep the.
And I'm Mike Guidoboni, current owner, soon to be transitioned legacy founder, as Adam takes over more of the operation day to day.
Awesome. I love when businesses, keep it in the family. Hopefully, your kid's gonna be the next generation.
Oh, yeah.
Guidoboni owning
Right.
Spectrum. So how about you tell us the story of the business? How did it all start? Or maybe even go as far as starting from your history. Like, what did you start when you.
Yeah, I'll kind of give you the baseline, and then I'll kind of hand it over to Adam as far as where we're headed. I spent 20 years in corporate America as a software engineer, doing new product development, patenting, all of the things that we offer here as a company. And what we found was there were very limited options in the local area. When I left GE, the idea was, didn't really want to go back into corporate America. Looked back on my life as to when I enjoyed the jobs I was working on. One was the military, loved it, but at my age, that's not an option. And, then I look back when I was a teenager, I was a Bridgeport operator at an engineering firm in Connecticut. And I really enjoyed making products and creating things that were custom.
Yep.
So I went on the hunt for a tool shop with the intent of growing it into a manufacturing company that would support the likes of General Electric, Raytheon, Lockheed Martin for the local prototyping and machining needs that were desired. We found a place in late 2017. Again, I'll refer to it as a dying tool shop. We had one customer, one machine running, very little revenue. So we did an asset sale, bought all of the equipment, didn't buy the actual company, took part of the name and rebranded it as a manufacturing company.
Oh, so Spectrum was the name?
The Spectrum Custom Molds.
Yeah.
And then when we bought it, we turned it into Spectrum Custom Molds and Manufacturing. So completely different entity. Existing customers. The one customer that the previous owner had, we bought the product, bought the tooling, and we own that now under the umbrella of our operation. So there's no carryover from the previous version of Spectrum.
Got it.
We started in Bradenton, a little 5,000 square foot lease facility. Organically grew the business. The first year, I think it was 78,000 we had for revenue.
Yep.
And I think we had 3 customers, and now I think we've got 140 something recurring customers. And this year we're targeting between 1.5 and 1.7 for our income. So significant growth for organic, what I consider a startup business.
So what do you mean organic? So you didn't really do much marketing, or?
No haven't spent a penny on advertising other than our website for contact. When I say organic, we physically went out and found our clients either by sales or by having people reach out to us by word of mouth for work that had already been completed. So we really let our quality, our ability to hit schedule, our relationship kind of advertise for us.
Yep.
And that's what I mean by organic. So at this point, all of our clients are from our inception in 2018 to current. And most of them we were.
Oh, wow. So that's impressive. It means you're doing something right.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. Everybody has an option to go overseas. Offshore offers a less expensive option, but having demonstrated what our capability is, the customers really do return to us, even though there's a cost variance. They're willing to pay the difference for the relationship, the quality, the consistency.
So what's the Spectrum difference? Is it the tolerance you're able to achieve, or is it
I think it's attention to detail and quality. I mean, yesterday we had a little situation where we were delivering a product, and part of our process is dunking that product in water to flash cure it when it's produced for thicker plastic parts. Generally, the operator is responsible for verifying that there's no water spots or any kind of you know, resemblance of the water dunk on the part. And it was a rush job. So it fell through the cracks on the operator. We had multiple operators running it actually. And it wasn't until it went through quality for verification that we saw water spots on it. So right away, we had already packaged everything for delivery. We opened everything up, took everything out, cleaned it the way we were expecting to deliver it, put it back together. Customer will know the difference. So those are the kinds of quality scenarios that the customer doesn't always see, but that's what we guarantee as part of what we do within our business.
Understood. That
Yeah.
goes a long way for sure.
Yeah.
So Adam, how about you also? You know, tell us your story. How did you get into it? Obviously, it's in the family, but still.
Yeah. So I was at high school at the time. I think sophomore in high school when he purchased the machines. I was coming in during breaks, summer, kind of learning the business, cleaning machines, assembling parts, kind of learning the ropes really of what it was like to just be in a shop all the time. Slowly, I mean, towards the end of high school, I was starting to run machines, learning how to program the CNC machines, learning a lot more on the injection molding side with quality control, setting up, dialing in tools, loading tools, and learning a lot about materials and cutters and everything. Basically, COVID hit my graduating year of high school, and I had a commitment to a college, but decided that didn't make a whole lot of sense to pay full price tuition or, you know, a Zoom call.
Yep, that's Zoom.
Exactly.
That's crazy.
So it just made sense for me to stay, and I ended up working full time with the business, trying to figure out what was happening just with the world, and fell in love with it. Decided that, you know, I didn't really want to go anywhere, and then he asked me the first year. He said, "I really need a partner in this, and I either want to do it with you, or I got to find somebody to help me, you know, run the business." So I fell in love with it, and I didn't want to leave. So here we are, you know, 5 years later now, full time, and we've obviously grown quite a bit in what we're doing. And I've learned basically how to run all the machines. I control scheduling, purchasing, customer relations, a lot of quoting, just keeping the ropes tight and making sure that he can focus on big picture and sales, and I can focus on making sure product comes in and goes out when it's supposed to.
System, so you kind of have your defined roles and responsibilities, you know, like swim lanes, I like to call it.
Yeah.
And people many times in organization, people unintentionally swim in each other lanes, and that makes the organization less efficient. So so I really like how you have your designated. I mean, it doesn't mean you cannot, you know, strategically think about like what can you do better and things like that, but then you have your roles and responsibilities. That makes businesses very successful. For one, at least I see.
We're very flexible. I mean, we have kind of accidentally defined those roles just because it's what we're both good at. And
Hey, but that's what happens, right?
exactly. And then sometimes I'll have to help him on a project, making sure that customer gets everything they need, because it might need two people's attention to make sure that they have all the quotes they need when they need it for presentations. And then sometimes he helps me on operations when I'm flooded in the tool shop and production needs to keep moving. So yeah, we work great as a team.
That's amazing.
I will say, I just want to add one thing. Adam didn't get the role of COO because he was my son. Adam got the role of COO because he demonstrated the ability, like he said, to run the machines, manage the people. He's running circles around me. He can run these machines. I have no idea what half these machines, how to operate them. I know what they do. You know, that's the reason I think he's in that role is because he's demonstrated his ability to do it. The employees trust him to do it. It's not that he's just, you know, the boss's son, you're going to listen to him. The employees truly trust him because when they have a problem or they need direction, he's the one that comes in and shows them how to do it.
So I got to mention something right now. As you're saying it, I'm remembering probably the first time we met when Rob Harris, our executive director in Sama, introduced us. I don't remember if we probably shook our hands, but I remember he was just, Adam was running a machine or something like that. I didn't even know it was your son at the time, or I don't know. Did you tell me, or maybe you didn't even tell me?
Yeah, but I don't generally.
But my first impression of you were just running the machines. So, right, unbiased here, and so it's really true what you're saying that he proved that and demonstrated that he's able to step into the shoes of the COO. So that's really impressive.
Yeah. And CEO eventually. I mean, that's the goal. So but I think he's demonstrated to me capability, quality, exactly what the company needs. I think, like I said, the employees trust him, our customers trust him, love him. He's starting to take on more responsibility with the clients, doing quoting, chasing those opportunities. So I'm kind of stepping back and just letting him bring what he brings to the business, which is a little different approach than what I did. So he has a much bigger, I think, view of the future. And I think it's serving us well.
Yeah.
So who is a visionary then?
For me, I would say I needed to plug the gap after I left GE on what I was going to do to stay busy. I'm not going to sit at home, watch movies. I can only garden so much. It's just not who I am. So I enjoy building. I enjoy doing things with my hands. I enjoy creativity, artwork, just solving problems in general. I'm an engineer at heart, always have been. So I think for me, that was the goal for starting Spectrum and bringing a niche company to the market. But I think for Adam, his big picture is now that we've gone from 5,000 to 20,000 square feet, generated these customers, what does the future look like?
Scalability.
And I think what he's really bringing to the table now is those bigger opportunities with the bigger companies. Now that we've got our ISO, we've invested quite a bit of money in new machinery to be able to meet the precision demands of our clients. He kind of has that picture going forward. And I'm just letting him kind of run with it and just make sure that we're in communication. There's a checks and balance, but, I trust him. I trust him with the company. I trust where it's going. So, that's kind of the partnership we have now.
That's awesome. So you mentioned the COVID, right? COVID happened, and then you didn't go to college or university. But then at the same time, I was thinking, as you mentioned, 2017, that's where it all started. I'm like, you probably didn't know COVID is going to happen.
Nope. Right.
So, what was the perspective during COVID? I mean, it was for the business.
I think like the rest of the world, everybody just woke up one morning and we were shocked. I'll tell you, right, March 20th, 2020, that's the day it hit. That's the day it impacted our business. We're told we got to stay home. I got employees going, how am I going to make money? I got to pay my rent.
Yep.
I got to buy food. I got kids in school. So we petitioned the state of Florida to become what was the term? Necessary business or something. I can't remember what the term was.
Yep.
And they granted us the approval to continue operating because we had transitioned our production.
Essential. Yes.
Essential business. That's right. Thank you. But we had overnight transitioned our business from a custom injection molder company to a PPE production facility. One of our proudest moments, I think, was we did a tool for nursing in, I think the tool request came out of New Orleans, but they had lost like hundreds of emergency workers had died as a result of the COVID. And this is when they're talking about face shields and masks and goggles and, everything to protect you. So we just transitioned our entire business into providing PPE solutions.
Oh, wow.
So it allowed us to maintain the essential business, clarification with the state, but also, helping our first responders, helping other manufacturers who if they had to work, they had to have face shields and they had to have mask straps. And so the products that we were producing were in support of the PPE demand, really globally. So
I think one of the proudest moments in that time period too is the face mask tool. I mean, and so it was a high production tool. Typically, it would take us anywhere from 3 to 4 weeks to build that tool on a day-to-day basis, and we built it in one day. And it was a 24-hour day.
What kind of tool is that?
An injection mold. So to
it's
actually
a bracket, that one on the forehead that the shield snapped onto. We probably got some laying around here, but it was a immediate need. Hospitals, couldn't operate without the protection they needed. So to Adam's point, I think we had 5 employees at the time, and me and him. And so for 24 hours, we literally, everybody took a plate, everybody started cutting, and one day we built a tool, which, I mean, that's pretty impressive. I don't know of any other company in America, let alone the world, that would turn something around that rapidly.
Yeah. We were shipping parts within 48 hours of them requesting a tool.
Pretty sure it was the order was like 100,000 parts. I mean, it wasn't like, here's 10 parts. I mean, this was a high production tool with, like he said, within 4 days, we had a van loaded full of pallets of product. being delivered directly to New Orleans and their hospital. And from there, it kind of grew to Washington State, Chicago, and Pennsylvania. As more of the larger cities were impacted by COVID, we were providing solutions right here from Palmetto to keeping them safe.
And as a U.S. manufacturer too, I think a huge role that we played is delivering those masks, but then people started waking up after that, realizing that they can't wait for their product to come out from overseas. They need a more domestic opportunity. So COVID was actually, it was a huge growth spurt for our company.
That was the supply chain was the biggest impact to COVID. It opened the world up. A single source solution does not work when there's critical need.
Exactly.
We proved that.
Yeah, it finally opened the eyes, I think, of a lot of companies, legislators, government officials, right? How important manufacturing is to the backbone of our economy. Right. And before we were saying, oh, we'll ship it to our production. We'll send our production somewhere else. We'll in Mexico, China, whatever. It's cheaper. But then kind of open their eyes. Wow.
Now you got 1,400 ships off the LA coast and nobody can deliver. You know, I mean, there were a lot of people that weren't getting medication. I mean, there's a big reason why I think going forward, the country needs to look at stable supply chain, even if it's not 100%. You know, just have 10% of it built in the U.S. to protect yourself in those types of situations, because we can always scale up. I can buy more machines. I can hire more employees. We can build more tools if the need's there.
Exactly.
But that's the kind of scenario where we want to make sure, you know, from as we move forward, that we protect supply chain, we protect companies' investment, as well as offering a convenient option outside of the offshore.
Exactly. So I bet this experience you learned a lot from that. Probably strategically, it seems like you were really adaptable and you were able to in a blink of a moment to change your strategy. So this was amazing, but I wouldn't think you had a business continuity plan of what's going to happen in different emergencies. You just acted on it.
I was like a nuclear bomb that went off and everybody had to figure out how to survive.
But I'm just curious. I'm sure it taught you some key lessons for the future of what your strategy should be, what your growth trajectory should be, and what to do in case of emergency. I mean, we have obviously Florida hurricanes happen all the time.
Sure.
So what's your strategy? And then at the same time, your the strategy for the next 5 years, but then at the same time, what's your adaptability to any uncertainties that can happen, the risks, right?
I think our biggest strategy is to work with multinational corporations that don't rely on the world for their supply. They rely on the industries in particular, like medical. During COVID, medical ramped up. And then when the economy is terrible, medical is still there. Everybody still needs care.
Right.
So we're trying to sort of help those and support those multinational corporations that don't get affected so that we don't get affected. And I think that's a way that we can secure our place when the economy isn't doing it.
So just to make sure I understood it right, so you figuring out which industries or sectors to work with so that to be more dependable, even when the world shifts a little bit, there is some uncertainty, but these industries, they were still going to always be there.
To clarify, I mean, the reason we're going after the B2B, there's a continuous need, right? One of the outflows from COVID that we saw when we were working with the smaller mom and pop small businesses is when they were impacted, they didn't need sales. So we were impacted. Now I'm not producing for you because you can't sell your product. I can't be held liable to your sales ability in order to grow the trajectory of our business. I think that was critical. So to Adam's point, one of our focuses was to look for more of those B2B opportunities, right? Where are the people that need 10,000 product every 3 months, not 5,000 one time, and then I never hear from them again. So that really helped define, I think, where we are right now. I would say that 90%, maybe 80, 90% of our business now is B2B. So that was a major transition from when it used to be 80% small business, mom and pop. That's who we were helping at the time. when COVID hit, they went away. How do you backfill? Initially we had the government support with the emergency responders, and then it kind of grew from there into, like Adam said, medical. We've gotten into aerospace now. We're doing a lot of drone prototyping and accessories.
That's exciting. Yeah.
With the geopolitical needs throughout the world right now, those are two huge, stable options that the U.S. needs to maintain internally. Make sure that people are taken care of with their medical care, and make sure that the defense is there to protect us.
Exactly.
So,
And we also just became a tier 1 supplier for an electrical component company.
that's a big one. Yeah.
For us, I mean,
Congratulations.
electronics aren't going anywhere anytime soon.
Right.
So for
I
us,
don't think so.
That secures our, need, or their need for us and our place in manufacturing. Yeah.
Great. So I think there's a lot of thinking comes to that, right? So is it that's just some kind of strategic planning you do from time to time on weekly meetings, or what do you do to make sure because it's one thing to talk about it, but then at the same time to actually execute, that's the challenge. So how are you staying aligned? Because there is so many other shiny objects that's jumping from day to day. Maybe next week there'll be something else. How do you make sure you stay focused on your kind of internal capabilities, if you will, your core values?
I mean,
I could say personally, I'm old school, right? When I started the business, I had a business plan. My business plan was my 1 year, 5 year, 10-year focus.
Yeah.
Every year restarts my 1 year, 5 year, 10-year. So we're constantly looking at what we need to do, whether it be machinery investment, building a new facility, buying the 10 acres that we're on to allow us to expand and control it. That's all been part of the vision on our reviews that we do with the business plan. But secondarily, when we have our annual meeting with my wife, Adam, and I are the officers of the company. When we sit down, we say, okay, where are we investing our money? We want to do that this year. ISO was one of those discussions, when we were talking with Rob at SAMA, is this the year that we pull the trigger on ISO, knowing that we need it to support where Adam's vision was growing with the B2B. So we're consistently looking at, are we doing it right? Where do we need to move in the future? And what are the opportunities that we can target?
And where did you learn it? The 1, 5, 10 years? Is it something, how did you, I mean, it's not something that is like randomly people know. You said you're old school, but is it?
There was a organization, and I can't think of the name of it now, forgive me, but it's retired business owners offer free advice and input. I've been looking at being a business owner for years. So I originally met with them, I want to say back in the early 2010s. And they sat down and said, this is how I started my business. Here's what I would recommend. So I kind of took that as a suggestive input, and I kind of followed their path. And at the end of the day, it worked. It succeeded. We started working with the SBDC up at USF. During COVID, I think it was, when we were looking to see what kind of funding was out there to keep the employees on staff, what opportunities did we have. They were a great help supporting us as well. So it's just been a lot of networking, a lot of listening,
and
learning, of asking for help, and learning the hard way, doing the hard work. And
so one thing, so there is a, EOS, entrepreneurial operational system. It's a proven method of, like you said, this one. It's teaching the 1, 5, 10 year, like 10 years, like this, the big audacious goal,
right? And
then you're breaking it down,
right?
So I would highly recommend, especially Adam, as you're, taking over at some point, right? To read the book Traction.
Okay.
Traction. I'll send it to you. I think you're gonna. You'll understand what they definitely like. Oh yeah, and it gives you, actually explains you, and it even has templates. If you get it on Audible, it has templates that you can use, and kind of the 10-year template. What do you need to write? And it tells you what strategy. It just tells you, like, in sections, what do you need to focus on, and then you decide, like, what's your strategic, what's your 5 things you need to do this quarter,
right?
And then what's your rocks of the quarter? And then every week you review it, and are you getting there? You're not getting there,
right?
So I think that's just a suggestion.
Definitely send it to me. I'll take a look at it.
Yeah, good input. again, being open to learning, being
Yep.
open to suggestions, being open to recommendations. The guy we bought the business from, this would have never happened in his life. It was my way, the highway. I don't care about my
Yeah.
customers. I don't care about anything. It was just a dangerous way to run a business, and to have that kind of curt attitude is limiting. We're very, I think
It's almost self-sabotage, right?
yeah.
So, yeah,
Yep.
you have to be flexible.
Yep. Yeah.
So you mentioned a couple times ISO,
Mhm.
SAMA. Tell us more a little about.
So we met Rob Harris with the Sarasota Area Manufacturing Association, I think like 5 years ago. They stopped in our old lease facility. Hey, here's who we are. I'm a little gun shy when it comes to donating money because we had been part of the, um, what's the community thing there? Chamber of Commerce.
Yeah.
And, they showed up every year going, give me my $450. I'm like, what are you doing for me? Oh, I got a yellow book online. We'll put your name on there. People can find my website. So, and we had worked with a couple of companies that come in asking for donations for that. SAMA was a little different because Rob was truly focused on growing manufacturing. That was one thing that stuck with me. When we talked about what his vision was of SAMA, it was making Florida a premier manufacturing location, specifically at the time on the I-4 corridor.
Yeah.
We fit on the west side of that, made sense, and I said, you know what, let's just take the journey and see where it goes. And fast forward 5 years, here we are, still a member of SAMA.
Yeah.
Rob stopped by. He stops by annually just to kind of touch base and say how things are going, and we had the quick discussion about Florida Makes and how they can provide ISO certification services through SAMA. And I said, okay, well, let's see where that opportunity takes us. And fast forward a year now, it's done. Water under the bridge. We worked with SAMA, put us in contact with Florida Makes. Florida Makes took care of what we needed to with the state to get our funding, get our approval for it, and hooked us up with Neil Kagan, who phenomenal resource, super, super nice, easy to work with, but truly an expert in the field. He literally sat here for, months.
6 months, 7 months, yeah.
Went through all of our processes, which we were in decent shape. We always claimed we were ISO compliant, but crossing the T's, dotting the I's was really the big effort. And fortunately, we achieved our certification on our first go back in November.
Nice.
No findings, zero findings.
That's amazing.
He was shocked, that for the first time out, there was nothing found. So, I credit a lot of that to Neil, his direction, his leadership, and truly our employees for doing what we asked, making sure they follow the process, define them, good, bad, or ugly. If you find something that's wrong, document it. That's part of what we do to make sure we don't keep repeating the same problems. So I think, the culmination of the relationship between SAMA to Florida Mix with Neil all worked well. And, here we are 6-7 months later, fully certified.
Awesome. Yeah, Neil is great. He's a great resource for us.
Fantastic.
All our clients enjoy working with Neil.
Yeah.
And he's really helping them with their quality programs. Sometimes it's not necessarily just ISO, the certification, but just, improving the quality program.
Right.
Some companies don't have anything documented, so he's helping them to document the procedure and making sure there's control.
Right.
So,
yeah. Yeah. Fortunately for us, we coming from corporate America, I knew ISO was a big need to play in the bigger lakes with the big fish, and we started, I think, God, Karen was still here, probably 2019, 2020, we started our ISO preparation. So for 4 years before you guys even came into the picture, we had been building up those records, building up those processes, building up those binders that, documented everything we were doing. So it was good to see that what we were doing was on the right path, and having Neil come in and just kind of finalize and button everything up for us, I think was the right solution. Yeah.
great.
Yep.
Yeah. So what other benefits do you see of, relationship with SAMA or whatever SAMA is doing in the area for manufacturing?
I think SAMA in general, the opportunity to promote manufacturing, promote the companies locally, what are the products that are produced, the open networking within SAMA. Hey, I got somebody that needs a tool. Oh, I know a tool builder. That networking I think is invaluable. SAMA's demonstrated that they are an organization that exists for the promotion of manufacturing in our local area. And I know it's bigger. I know it's throughout Florida with different organizations. Yeah. But the chapter we're most familiar with right here, the SAMA chapter, has just been a real good resource for promotion, networking. Even when we had questions when we were asking about the certification, they found the answers and came back and said, "Here's what you need to do." Mm-hmm. So they're a great resource as well as a promotion opportunity. Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. What I like to tell any manufacturer really, what are the benefits of being part of the network? Well, really, one of the striking benefits is that now you just need to go to one place, mm-hmm. the Manufacturing Association, SAMA, Sarasota Area Manufacturing Association,
right?
And
you're right. And Sarasota and Manatee, yeah.
and they can give you the answer for whatever your needs are.
Yeah.
Whether it's training related, whether it's some legislation related, right. Whether there's any other question you have. I would always say, maybe I wouldn't be able to tell you the answer, but I know I'll be able to find someone who can tell you the answer.
Right.
And I'm always saying, as a manufacturer, you really have a lot of time to find all these other 100 nice programs that are around the state that may be able to help you.
Right.
Now you just need to go for one place, and you're going to find your answers.
Great resource. Yeah, it really is. Yeah.
So, you know what? I wanted to make sure that we're going to have this conversation, mm-hmm. because you said fortunately for you, I guess, your father was in manufacturing and he was running a manufacturing business, so you knew about manufacturing when you were in high school. However, I'm always talking to manufacturers or just to, even my barber sometimes about manufacturing. Young people have no clue about manufacturing. Mm-hmm. Okay. They don't know that just around the corner from their house, there is an amazing manufacturing opportunity. Yeah. They don't even know what manufacturing is all about.
And that's one of the largest problems in manufacturing. Exactly. We work really closely with MTC, which is Tech College in Manatee County. And, they're doing a great job trying to bring students into manufacturing and get them involved with the companies around here. And I'm on the try to help them understand what the real world's like after MTC, mm-hmm. and because we do hire a lot of people from MTC. But one thing with that is that they can't get the people from high school to their school because people don't even know it exists. Exactly. Especially high school students that all they hear about is college. If I don't go to college, mm-hmm. It's not going to work out. And they don't understand there's huge opportunities in manufacturing. And a lot of people that I grew up with didn't even know manufacturing really exists. Like they obviously touch things that are manufactured every day, all day. They don't understand it's done.
They don't know there is a process to it. Things just appear. Yep. Right?
Growing up in the 80s and 90s, I saw it happening. Yep. Yeah. At the end of the day, let's just be honest. We destroyed manufacturing in this country out of greed, mm-hmm. corporate greed. How do I make more money? What's my bottom dollar? Mm-hmm. And we let all of our manufacturing, all of our expertise, all of our tool building skills, pushed it offshore. And 30 years later, we're going, how the heck did this happen? Why did we allow this to happen? Yep. And we wonder why we can't get tool makers, why we don't have skill sets to bring people in. Yep. Unfortunately, we turned manufacturing into a commodity. Mm-hmm. Just pick up the phone, call offshore. They'll deliver your stuff right to your house for $1. Look at the Walmarts. Look at the Amazons. That's not the reality of how the world operates. Mm-hmm. Right. And I think we're realizing that. COVID was the first time that we opened our eyes and saw that there was a need for supply chain protection. And I think now as the tariffs and the geopolitical issues are starting to grow globally, I think people are realizing if I get something, can I get it back here? Does it cost me more? Right. I won't mention names, but we had a customer we're working with right now who got caught up in that tariff, and I think they paid almost $400,000 penalty to get product brought back here. And then 2 weeks later, they waived the tariffs and they all went away. And they're like, well, you don't get your money back. So people trying to figure out how to run a business in this kind of environment is extremely difficult. Yeah. But if you have a solution like Spectrum that is U.S. based, that gives you even the opportunity for a portion of your supply chain to be protected, that's really who we're looking for. Those are the clients we're looking for.
And on a career note too, you know, we try to provide people with a real opportunity. You know, not, I think one bad misconception with manufacturing right now is that there's no money to be made, that it's all old world salaries and stuff. But there are companies like us that are trying to pay fair wages and for people that work. I mean, this is a blue collar industry, and as long as our clients can pay for the quality, then we can translate that right to our employees, and we can build careers with people. So that's another thing that we're trying to promote with the tech college close to us, and just schools in general. We're trying to push that this is a career opportunity. There really is power in manufacturing, and it's a really, really cool career to get into because there's so much you can do.
Actually, my thing is that you're gonna get not just a salary, you're gonna get a high salary that you'll be able to support your family. That's what something is also, I think, the younger generation don't understand is the opportunities in manufacturing. Another thing is manufacturing is not a dirty environment anymore.
No.
With all the technological advancement, like you said, AI, automation, robotics, you actually need to upskill your skill set to be able to run those machines.
Oh, yeah.
It's not just pressing a button or picking something and putting it from a place A to place B.
Right.
No, you actually need to know how to run this equipment, those machines, and you need to upskill yourself. So what are we going to do? How are we going to communicate that to the younger? How are we going to bring more younger generations? First of all, how do we going to bring awareness? And second, how can we entice them to come and, instead of a college, maybe try to go to manufacturing? The manufacturing company, many times manufacturers actually will pay for your college after with the stuff you actually need.
Yeah, right. And that's a program we're looking at doing, as well as bringing students here straight out of high school, 18 years old. We'll do an apprenticeship program with you, teach you over 6 months what it really is like to get into manufacturing. And then in 6 months, you can decide if it's for you or not for you. We'll even reimburse you if you go to a tech school. So there's an opportunity for everybody. And I think the hardest part, and my generation's included in this, is that just with technology and AI and software and all this other stuff, they think that that's the future, and it is, but they don't understand that a lot of that doesn't work without manufacturing. So the digital space only exists because of the hardware and the servers that are built in manufacturing.
Yeah. So wait a second, I'm gonna get paid and I'm gonna learn.
Yeah, exactly. So there's great opportunity, and we're a company that's going to be around for a very long time. So like, we have an employee that has been in the manufacturing space for almost 40 years now, and I mean his whole career, and he's built a beautiful family, has a home, vehicles, travels. He gets 3 weeks of PTO. I mean, he has a great life, great quality of life, because we have 4-day work weeks here. Optional overtime. So there's that work-life balance where he's happy. He's a grandfather now. He can spend time with his grandkids, still make a great salary. And then it's fantastic for us, because the younger employees that we do have coming out of tech school or high school even can learn from him, learn from all that experience. And then they see from him that there really is a career in manufacturing. And he, like you said, though, with technology, you got to stay up with it. You got to keep up with it.
Absolutely.
You can't fall behind.
That's the next big boom coming. That I think people really need to keep their eyes open on. You mentioned AI.
Right.
I'm an old software engineer. I did it for 20 years. When I was going through college, as Adam said, we were transitioning from a manufacturing country to a services country, right? We're going to do software development. We're going to sell it globally. We're going to automate everything. We really don't need manufacturers anymore. There's no money in it. Well, now what people don't realize, AI is replacing software engineers. Right now, one of the roles or jobs that are decreasing at a highest rate is software engineering.
Really?
Because AI is capable of developing its own software. We don't need guys like me sitting in a cube anymore coding different kinds of libraries and different kinds of functions, because we've done it. So now it's a reuse. And where do I plug those or pull those from? And we can do that through AI. You can't build a tool with AI.
Yeah.
right? You can't have somebody come in and logically look at the precision we need at a tenth of a thou, accuracy, and allow a machine to do that. It just, these machines still need that human interaction to make sure that they're doing.
And a lot
That's
of
the value.
a lot of the machines we're investing in are adding that technology, like AI assist, but there's still got to be a person that understands how to use it.
Right.
And yeah, I mean, the point with software engineers, someone who came out of high school 5 years ago. A lot of people I know went to job fairs and went to school for software engineering, and now they still don't have a job.
Yeah.
After going to school for 4 years. So there's
Accumulating a lot of depth in the
Yeah.
process too.
yeah.
Unless they were fortunate enough to
Healthcare,
participate.
teaching, software engineering, the three, my personal feeling, those are the three impacts that AI are going to start
Well,
consuming.
the real fear, I think, is also transportation, truck drivers,
Mhm.
right? What's going to happen there?
Yep.
That's the number one job in America. What's going to happen when we have self-driving trucks? We are pretty close to that.
These are all the things
That's
that
a
I
lot of
think is
jobs.
the next boom coming that we're going to have to adjust and accommodate to.
That's a lot of jobs.
That's what we try to focus on is adaptability. What can we do as a manufacturer to adapt to the changing world? Because we're going to be here for a long time. There's a lot of manufacturers that have been around for 60 years. And the only reason they could do that is because of adaptability. So as long as we keep up with what's happening.
I mean, they demonstrated it during COVID, right?
Yep, exactly. So, that's the main focus is how can we keep up with the rest of the world? And part of that also does draw attention to manufacturing because if we do have those new technologies, those new machines, those new processes, it draws the younger generation to be more interested in it. It's not an old world industry.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point too. I mean, the salaries in technical roles right now are competitive with salaries of service focused jobs, IT, software.
Absolutely.
So somebody can come here and make $80,000, $90,000 a year. You're not going to do much better than that being a software engineer coming out of school. So now you're going to compete with AI in the future on the software side, or you can truly develop a real opportunity in manufacturing to grow for generations.
Exactly. That's a good point.
Yeah.
So we touched base quite a bit now on technology, and you said the way you're investing in machines, you have a strategy. So tell us more about how you're integrating, Industry 4.0, was it like to call, with your manufacturing processes.
Yeah. So, our biggest investment in machines is developing that process and trying to be as efficient as possible with that. ISO is a huge part of that investment. Bringing in new equipment, making that process more efficient, getting the product out the door, making the customer happier. It's just that revolving door. And how can we make our customers more satisfied, getting the product quicker, higher precision, and cost effective, and kind of keeping that momentum rolling. That's been our huge motivation for the recent investment, at least for that newer manufacturing world. We don't have a single manual machine in the shop right now because it doesn't make sense. Even a quick job, a lot of guys say, oh, a manual machine, if I had that, I could throw it in there and just knock it out real quick. If you know how to use the CNC lathe, you could do the same thing. So, but you can also do much more.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's been our huge investment in Mazaks, in Okamoto grinders. It's been how can we advance our process, our quality, and deliver more to our customers faster.
And from an IoT perspective, one of the things we don't open up here is our network, because a lot of the work that we do is custom, it is proprietary, it is patented. We have a responsibility to protect that. So yes, there's great options out there for connectivity, Zoom meetings, virtual everything. There is no such thing as a virtual tool builder, right? You can't do that from home today. You mentioned automation, robots. Robots are great up to a specific level. If it's picking up a part and moving it over or packaging a box, I would have trust in them. But for a robot to have the responsibility to do quality control on a part, that's a real challenge. We see that with Tesla. Their cameras are great in their vehicles until you're driving into the side of a white truck that it thinks is a sky, right? There are certain limitations that we just learn through failure, and we aren't willing to take that gamble. So where there's a risk, we still have people involved. Adam, our employees, they're the ones that are maintaining the automation we have. The machines we have are embracing the AI, super easy to use, very intuitive, but again, only as intuitive as somebody who understands how to use it correctly.
The other problem too with like you brought up a point with robotics, every manufacturer is trying to figure out how to get robotics into their building. How can they get multi-cell machines, sprue pickers on the injection molding side, those kind of automation.
Yeah.
But the hard part with being a custom tool builder, considered a job shop almost, we're not repeating a process over and over and over.
Right.
Everything we do is custom to a point.
Hence the name custom, right?
Exactly. So,
Yep.
Robots are really good at doing the same thing over and over. They're really, really bad at doing different things all the time.
Right.
So that's where we still have the people involved and where careers are really strong in manufacturing.
And it will be a blend. I'm certain in the future, we
Okay.
may have overhead pickers on our injection molding machines to remove a part, but quality would still be, a human contact role that we have here. So maybe we have one person running 4 machines instead of 4 people running 4 machines. But the talent, the expertise that one person brings, certainly at this point outshines what any kind of automation would provide to us. So, and again, that's part of our quality. We put human eyes and human hands and everything that goes out the door. We don't just trust the machine to spit it out.
Yep.
So,
Well, what do you think with advancement in AI, when we're getting to the next one? What's the AGI? Is it the next AI? AGI?
there's so much technology.
General intelligence, right?
Yeah. Generally.
We're on the cusp, I think, of some real impressive technology. 3D printing has historically been a plastic, a PLA, SLA type application for hobbyists in a garage. Nobody's out 3D printing critical components until we started being able to 3D print meteorology materials. So there are machines out there right now that will 3D print an injection mold out of a hardened steel and deliver them. Right now, they're very small.
You wouldn't get the same spec, though.
What's that?
You wouldn't get the same spec.
Right. I think eventually you will get there. With the technology that is currently being developed, you may be able to build smaller tools, AB kind of tools, but the more complex tools that are generally required for high cavitation medical components that have very specific surface requirements and gate requirements and functional components of the tool, those are things that still require mathematics. Right. Yeah. Well, I just don't have the trust in the automation at this point.
Yeah.
So for our company, there's, for the near future, at least till I'm gone, there's going to be a need, for that human interaction.
Yeah. And there's definitely technologies. Mazak has been on the forefront of the technology, really, but additive manufacturing. Yeah. Like he's talking about with the metal printing, Mazak is taking that technology, printing on a machine and then machining it in the same process. This is a great technology. It's really new, very expensive to run and very expensive to invest in. But I think just like 3D printing, when 3D printers were $20,000 10 years ago, now you can get them for a few $100 in your bedroom.
Just like a regular
Commodity. Exactly. Yeah, exactly. It's a commodity. So once we get to that point, I think we're going to see a huge shift in efficiency and accuracy with additive manufacturing. I think it's going to be the biggest change in the molding industry, and that's probably going to be a 5 to 10 year change, but it's going to change an industry that's been around for.
Yeah. And we'll keep tabs on it. It's not like we're just turning a blind eye to it and saying, hey, we're not going to pay attention. But
of course,
with any new technology, kind of like a new model car, you don't ever want to buy the first one. Let them work all the kinks out, buy it 2 or 3 years later when it's more of a proven platform or concept. That's the kind of stuff we'll keep our ear to the ground and kind of see what the opportunities are. But for the near future, we're investing in proven technology. The machines that we're buying, I think you mentioned the other day, are 20-year life expectancy. These aren't 3-year throwaway CNC machines. These are true commitments on investment for the long haul.
Right.
The partnerships we have with Nisi and Mazak and Okamoto are stellar. I mean, we're being treated the way we treat our customers. So there's just a common appreciation between us, understanding where we're going. And I think we've selected the best companies, the best products, to kind of guide us into that future growth of the business.
That's great. It seems like there was a lot of thought put into that, which machine to select.
We've
Some
had
research.
hiccups. When I first started, I couldn't afford to buy big machines, so we bought a Chinese machine. And 2 years after we bought it, we were having constant problems. The maintenance took more than the benefit of having the machine. So that's when we really started looking at where do we invest our money to protect or prevent that kind of unnecessary expense from.
Yeah, and we were a Haas shop for about 4 years. Haas was great for what we were doing, but then as a precision tool builder, you find the limitations pretty quickly,
Right.
And especially the longevity of the machine, the spindle quality. So I spent about 8 months with Akuma, Mazak, DMG Mori, Kino, Herco, all sorts of big name manufacturer machine companies, flying all around the country looking at machines and trying to figure out what's the best solution, because it wasn't just a machine that we were trying to buy. It was a relationship and a 50-year commitment with machines that we're going to buy, because we buy 3 to 4 machines every year. So for us to
Wow.
commit to a company, it needs to be good and it needs to last. And we've kind of found that relationship with Nisi, Mazak, and Akuma. Or Okamoto. And we found those commitments, and I mean, now we have multiple machines from those companies, and it's just been great. It's a great relationship.
That's awesome.
That's really powerful with a company, because some companies they really look for that bottom dollar. How can they make their stretch their margins? And when we realized that if we invest a little bit more in that quality machine, we deliver a higher quality to the customer, we get better results and we get better customers, and then the word of mouth spreads, and it's just that relationship that keeps growing and growing. So that's been a huge game changer for us, was taking that jump and investing in those expensive machines.
Yep. And to his point, I mean, we're not talking about a simple tool where somebody comes in and we're just going to hog out a 2-inch circle. We're talking about complex tools. One of the ones we just had from the electrical manufacturer was a 16 cavity insert, 2 16 cavity inserts, a 32 cavity tool, and they needed to remove 24 thou and create a chamfer radius on it. And it 32 times repeated the same. We didn't have that kind of accuracy previously. So in order for us to win these types of opportunities, we had to look, like Adam said, at the machines that would support where we needed to go.
Makes sense.
So we're real pleased with what we have. And I will say we have 1 machine left from the acquisition in 2018, and that's on the way out the door because we just bought the Okamoto.
Yep.
So not one piece of equipment that we were running 8 years ago is still in operation. Wow. Everything has been replaced.
Yep.
That's amazing how you're growing the business.
Yeah.
And looking forward to, continuously tuning into your story, see how you're growing. Will be exciting times ahead, that's for sure. Yeah. So I think we had a great conversation. I enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And like I said, looking forward to the next chapters in the book. How about we close up by, Michael, how about you give an advice to the manufacturers, and Adam, how about you give advice to the younger generations that getting into manufacturing?
Yeah, of course.
I'm going to be real blunt. Trust the younger generation, right? Steve Jobs always said, I don't want to hire somebody that knows what I know. We're never going to go anywhere. I only hire people that know more or can do better than I can. Otherwise, we're going to be stagnant. I feel the same way. If you look at the employees we have here, I think the oldest one is 43. Mm-hmm. Well, aside from Glenn. Glenn's our ancient. Most of our employees are 20s and 30s, and that's unheard of in this industry.
It is. Yeah.
But putting my trust in them with their creativity, with their ability to see a different vision, has really done us well for the business. So my recommendation would be listen to the next generation. Guide them, but listen to them. Don't tell them how to do it. Let them tell you what their solution is, and let's see what you can grow with. I mean, I think we're a good demonstration of that blend between the legacy manufacturing and the new generation coming up.
That's a great advice.
And I mean, for my generation and the younger generation, with education and what school's telling you, manufacturing is huge. It's been around for hundreds of years. It's the only reason that we have what we have, and the complacency that we've built. And if you want to get into a career that's going to be around for another 100 years, hundreds of years, it's a great opportunity. And there's so much you can do in manufacturing. And I try to promote as much as I can to people that you don't have to work for a company. You can work for a company for 10 years, build a foundation, start your own shop, because that's what this industry allows, and that's what it promotes is small businesses. That's what we were, and that's what we still are, and we're growing. But if one of our employees said, I want to go start my company, we would promote that, because you can do that in this industry.
Absolutely.
And,
That's
you
awesome.
know,
Absolutely.
my generation, the younger generation, is so focused on entrepreneurship and getting out of that 9-to-5 office job. This industry allows that. So,
This is a key, right?
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yep.
Well, awesome advice as well.
Yeah.
Well, thank you guys. It was a pleasure.
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pavel. Yeah.